Let's get it started. Hello. How's everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's yours? How has your week been? Let me set that on silent. Good. Yeah. Right. Maybe put that a bit more that way. Crank this one down one. Yeah. Sorry. Right. Hello. How's everybody doing? How's things? We should be live. We're good on the YouTubes. And looks like we're fine on Twitch. Awesome. Yeah, I'm currently home alone, so I thought, why not? I'll hang out with you guys for an extra 5 minutes. Why not? How's everybody doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? My week was a lot. um, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh dear. Yes. Busy, especially next week. Next week's going to be very busy because, well, you see, there's these little things called CPUs coming in next week. So yeah, I got some of that to do. Hello Joe, how you doing? How's things? How am I? That question gets more difficult to answer basically every week. um, yes. Hello Simon, how you doing? How's things? Good to have you. um, Thank you, Alex. Oh dear. Yeah, next week's gonna be interesting. Simon, you tend to play with unreleased hardware. How are you finding them? I unfortunately only have the sorry, the U7. Um, but yeah, starting to warm up. I assume you mean like temperature outside rather than the chips themselves. I mean, I guess they have the same power limit, so um, yeah. I figured. Um, yeah, I I I think so. CyberPower has been is building a system with a lot of the Ryzen chips to send over, and they're also going to include a 14700K for me to test against. But I don't have that yet, and as far as I'm aware, that hasn't shipped yet either. So I think the first video that I will be posting will be memory testing to see how much that actually has an effect, especially because of the new CU DIMMs, which I'm actually going to have a full video on explaining what a CU DIMM is tomorrow. Um, so yeah, I'll do that. I have a normal video Monday. Well, normal, you know. I can't remember what's next on the list. Probably some headphones actually. Um, Creative Outlier goes, and then yeah. How has this week been? Been a strange few weeks for me, but seem to be settling down a bit for now. Nice. For me, not great. I spent 5 hours in hospital for my eyes yesterday. Um, to be clear, I only spent 5 hours in hospital waiting. Like it wasn't. I was going in because the last time that I had one of the eye appointments for the whole my eye falls apart thing, um, I was told the next time you have a flare up, you need to come in so that we can map out where on your eye it is so that we can do a surgery to repair that bit of your eye later. Um, so yeah, that's fun. But the okay, here's the annoying thing. I'm special in a lot of ways, and all of my health conditions are the like a rare or unusual form of everything. So uh to use my eyes as an example. I have a condition called map dot dystrophy. Um, and basically what that means is that the front layer of my eye detaches from the rest of my eye, and then scar tissue forms behind it, and then when it reattaches, it can't reattach sort of fully and properly, and so it then just degrades over time. Now the thing is, for me, this dystrophy lasts for about 2 days, and then goes away for another month or so. It happens in both eyes, but when they have healed, it's like nothing has happened. I had like fancy imaging done of my eyes yesterday, where it's a really cool thing. It's a camera with a fancy lens, but the camera looks at you front on, but then all of the imaging you get is as if they have like taken your eye out and done a cross section of each of the layers in like really fine grained detail. It's really cool. You can see the actual layers of the eye, like the front of the eye. Really cool thing. Anyway, point is, so they did that imaging, and on my left eye, where the last time I was in the doctors or the hospital, they saw the problem, um, there was nothing wrong with it. It's a perfectly healthy eye. And the right eye, I had a problem yesterday. In fact, I still can't really quite see you that well. Um, and yeah, they could see that problem. They could see the little specks in the eye, and so it was, that's fine. They could see it. However, I am very certain that when I when I then go in for the operation in a few weeks' time, they're gonna recheck my eye to make sure that they're doing it in the right place, and there'll be nothing there. So yeah, fun times. Hello, Luca. How you doing, man? How's things? So far I'm not so impressed. Seems more like a sideways upgrade over performance increase than we over the performance increase we usually see. I'm under obligation not to say anything. Although, if I'm being honest, I haven't actually tested them yet. I only actually got to put it in a motherboard and put it in a system today, and I haven't turned the system on yet. So technically, I don't have any information to. From what we've seen from the news launch, I would agree with you. Hello, John. I have not perished, much as I. Never mind. Um, I'll see you on the pod. Thanks for popping in anyway. Andy slipping the doctor a sly £20 to find out where he can get one of those fancy cameras from. um, uh, Kriegmeister Electronics or something. I was reading the label while I was waiting. um, well, so the surgery is basically they put some anesthetic drops in your eye. They put a little like well over the affected area. They pour alcohol in. You wait a minute. They take the alcohol off. They take the well off, and then they just like peel the bit of skin, like bit of eye. Like they delaminate your eye with the alcohol and just peel it away. They put a contact lens in, and then I just have antiseptic and anesthetic eye drops in for 2 weeks, and then hey presto, should be fine. Um, I'm making a lot more light of it than it it will suck for 2 weeks. And I'll have to see how that goes. But anyway, point is I'm not entirely convinced that the surgery will actually do anything, because like I said, in my left eye, it is like according to the doctors, according to the very fancy imaging, there is nothing wrong with this eye. But 2 months ago, I went into the doctors with it falling apart. It routinely falls apart. One of the two fall apart once a month, give or take. And I don't know why, and it kind of sounds like the doctors don't know why either. And that's not great. Hello, Essentialist. How you doing? Um, Luca, good. Had an accident with my car due to having a blow-off valve. I ended up like uh, a ton of engine oil in the engine bay. So the valve has been deleted, but still have some minor pressure issues where the oil is circulating into the intake. Well, that's less than ideal. Do you have a catch can? Because at least you could separate it. Um, is it a PCV problem? Because like there are relatively few ways where the like oil can get into the intake. Um, it's normally the if the valve seats are leaking, or if your crankcase ventilation is not working right. Oh, okay, right. Fair. Um, yeah. Essentially, so are you currently dying in CS2? It was milky oil. Ah, well, trust me when I say you don't want milky oil. Um, I uh, I had a my first car was a 2006 Renault Clio. It was a Mark II Clio. It was like the very last Mark II Clio. The 8 valve as well. 1.2 Campus Edition. Um, and at under 40,000 miles, at like 38,000 miles, the head gasket blew. um, and yeah, I uh, I had milky oil, and annoyingly, I didn't know it at the time, and I like uh my dad was like, "Oh yeah, that's just something that happens. It's fine. You'll need to do an oil change soon." Um, yeah. Um, Catch can's doing its job. Maybe it's just intake. Maybe the can is too full and need to empty it. We do need to empty it, but if you need to empty it, I mean, it depends how long you've had it and whatnot, and how. But it shouldn't be catching that much oil. Paul, what do I drive now? An Audi S4, the 3-liter supercharged V6 with the Quattro all-wheel drive, the 7-speed DSG, and I'm quite happy with it. Um, I've only ever actually owned 3 cars: the Clio, a Volvo S40, and the Audi, the S4. Um, but I have driven a lot of cars. I've driven a lot of supercars, like basically all of the mid-rate, like anyone that you'd find at one of the supercar days. I've done a lot of those supercar days, and then through doing car reviews, I've also driven an awful lot of cars at the SMMT days, and a few reviews as well. So a remarkable amount of driving experience for a now late 20-year-old. Um, Mechanic checked it yesterday. We took the blow valve, and basically the valve creates negative pressure, causing the oil to go back up through the can and PCV. Ah, that's not ideal. I hated driving the R35 GTR, the Gallardo though. So I've driven both of those. The Gallardo was pretty fun. It was the E-gear one though, so less fun. um, the GTR that I drove though was pretty ragged. Like it had been through a lot. And so yeah, uh, wasn't the best experience. I think that the problem with doing a lot of those supercar days is one, I'm autistic, and so having someone in the passenger seat uh, who's mostly there just to look after the car, really, means that I'm not going to take full advantage of sitting in the driver's seat of a very fast car. And also they tend to be really like run ragged. People getting in and out of them every 10 minutes, basically every day for several years tends to wear them out. So yeah, less than ideal. The most fun I think I had at one of those days was the McLaren 570S at Thruxton. Um, because so I've driven, for example, a Ferrari 458, and the Ferrari's a very fast car. Don't get me wrong, like, what, nearly 600 horsepower, mid-mounted V8, beautiful thing. Looks amazing too, obviously. But it didn't feel... It didn't feel like a car that was challenging you to drive it. It didn't feel like it wanted to drive quickly, or drive, at the edge. Whereas the McLaren, that felt like a race car. It felt like it wanted to hurt you. No, it more like it felt perhaps a little less forgiving, but more connected. And that means that you end up with a car that you can push and get really good feedback for when you're doing it wrong, to then you get to improve, you get to do it better. Whereas the 458 was a lot more of an easy car to drive, but a little less impressive, a little less connected, a little less like a race car. Yeah, I definitely prefer the McLaren, as you can tell. The brakes were from the GCR. Maybe someone went before you and just burned the pads or burned the fluid up. Um, Hello, Jim. How you doing? How's things? Years ago, sorry, I can't really read. Years ago, my Ford Fairmont had a split in the water jacket on the third cylinder. Had to swap the block and rebuild the engine. I will see. There's your problem. You bought a Ford. I mean, one of the funny things is that even I'm pretty sure uh, the Ford Focus RS was one of the coolest cars that Ford has made in quite a long time. Obviously, like the GT and Mustang are kind of the pretty popular ones, but the Focus RS, in the same way that like my Audi S4 is a really cool car, uh, because it gives you a very good like affordability to performance to practicality sort of triangle. The Focus RS was very similar, ridiculous, like 400-ish horsepower, all-wheel drive, including a whole like selectable rear-wheel drive for like drift mode. Like really cool, really fun car. The problem is that the engine. Um, okay, quick explanation. Your engine is made up of two main parts, the cylinder head and the cylinder block. The cylinder head contains all the valves, that's where all of the in and out of the air goes in and out. And then the cylinder block is where the pistons actually ride up and down in the cylinder bores. And that block needs to be cooled. You have coolant flowing through that block and through the head as well. And especially where the cylinder block meets the cylinder head, those are called the decks, and you have two different kinds of decks. A closed deck, where the cylinder bores are connected basically the whole way around, but with a couple of smaller holes for the coolant to be able to flow through the cylinder, like up into the head, and then back down into the block, and sort of circle around. Or you have what's called an open deck, where the cylinder bores are basically free floating at the top. They're obviously connected to the engine block further down, but it means that they can sort of shimmy side to side just a little bit, especially under load, especially under high turbo loads. Um, Basically, all performance engines are closed deck blocks. Would you like to know what Ford did for the Focus RS? If you said open, you'd be right. If you said that they blow up quite a lot, you'd also be right. Like in stock form, it's fine, but as with all performance cars, you kind of want to try and push them more. And when you push them more, they like to blow up. Um, yeah. Hello, Ish. How you doing, man? How's things? Is the coolant flowing through normal engine oil or some fancy schmancy stuff? Uh, I don't understand your question. So the your engine coolant, which goes through your radiator at the front of the car, is water and glycol based, and that the coolant has separate passageways in the block and the cylinder head, that are sealed off from the oil and from any combustion. Um, they're closed channels. It's kind of like PC water cooling, but with a car. And instead of having your like CPU block sort of strapped onto the CPU, it's more like uh, I don't know. It's organically molded around so that it's just like circling the whole PC, the whole motherboard, whatever. Um, Not a great direct analogy, but it is close enough. Yeah. And so they're two separate systems. And when you have a head gasket leak, they tend to become one system, and that's very bad. Very bad indeed. That's why my mechanic went back to Japanese cars, went from R6 to an Evo. I mean, fair enough. I mean, realistically, they both have similar but different problems. Um, it's the whole German cars are built to very exacting specifications, and if you follow those specifications, they are absolutely bulletproof and fantastic. Japanese cars are built to very exacting specifications with the understanding that the users are idiots and won't follow those specifications, and so are designed around that notion, generally. Um, as bad as me nearly putting diesel into my new petrol car, I didn't. Realized just in time. Very close. uh, yeah, well, I mean, the funny thing is that putting diesel. So, first of all, I'm pretty sure that the way that the nozzles are designed, you can't physically put a diesel nozzle into a petrol filler hose, like into a petrol car. I think the diesel one is thicker, like larger, so it just wouldn't fit. But what's kind of funny is that if you put diesel into a petrol car, eventually it will just stop working because it can't ignite the diesel. But with the petrol, like putting petrol into a diesel car, that might actually cause problems because the diesel very much can ignite the petrol too early and cause detonation. So it's kind of funny that they chose to make it so that the diesel fuel hose can't fit into a petrol filler neck when the other way around would probably be more helpful because putting petrol into a diesel is more likely to actually cause damage. Um, so yeah, um, yeah, I think you're right. I think it is that way around. Um, an experience purchasing refurbished high capacity hard drives. Any recommendations? And Lucas says, Jim, buy enterprise gold drives. Um, I don't have any experience buying refurbished hard drives or refurbished high capacity hard drives. The last refurbished hard drives I bought, I detailed on a stream a few weeks ago. They both still work actually, but they weren't the best choice. um, so yeah, I mean, I think the question for me in buying refurbished, especially high capacity drives, is how much cheaper are they? Because I know that like the newer breed of high capacity drives are getting remarkably cheap. And yeah, all drives die, so quarter the price means I can buy 3 as many and still save. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, if the drives are like half price, then great, buy 2. If they are, I don't know, only like 20 quid off of £200, I'd probably just buy the new one. Like, buy a new one, because at least then you have the sort of you've increased your odds of it not failing too soon. Enterprise drives are usually barely touched. I had more issues with your consumer drives failing. I mean, to be fair, I have also been buying enterprise drives. Like, my Overkill NAS has WD Golds, which are the enterprise ones, and my offsite NAS has Seagate Exos X18s, which are also the enterprise ones. So, yes. But yeah, either way, I would personally recommend buying the enterprise ones, WD Golds or Seagate Exos. But yeah, I do actually also have ARMOS. I have 2 ARMWolf Pros, one regular ARMWolf, and then one Seagate archive drive in my personal NAS, which are all fine. Although the archive one is SMR, shingled magnetic recording. Whereas the other ones are not shingled. I can't remember. DMR? EOS. I want to upgrade an RX 6750 XT, but I heard XFX is selling refurbished GPUs. Is it still worth getting? As the price in my country is $80 cheaper than any other brand. So generally speaking, refurbished GPUs aren't that bad. GPUs don't tend to, unless they've been treated extraordinarily badly, they don't tend to fail super regularly. So the idea of buying a refurbished one probably isn't too big a deal. Also, if it is XFX themselves who are selling the refurbished ones, there is also a sort of an air of credibility about that, and there might also be some warranty included with that. And so yeah, I would check out what the warranty policy is. I would check out to make sure that it is actually XFX selling it. But yeah, I don't see why not. Do I have to look out for SMR on any enterprise drives? Generally, no. Generally speaking, you don't tend to get SMR on enterprise drives. At least that I know of. Although I should make it clear that I'm not exactly what you call it. Up to date on the hard drive market, I think is what I'm trying to say. WQA bin their drives now. The less shit ones get branded as HGST. The real trash tier flung out as WD. The actually okay ones are marked up and sold as enterprise. My best deal for drives is my 2TB Evo 980. Got it for free. Friend got it thinking it was RAM. Nice. I mean, other people's incompetence is our benefits, right? Yeah, fair enough. Oh. I've also been in quite a lot of pain, including and especially my back. So I'm going to be moving around and sitting in weird positions today. I apologize. Aren't Hitachi and HGST the same? Yes. At least I think. I did tell him very quietly under my breath, but I told him. Hey, what doesn't hurt us, can't hurt us. Hello, Agent B. How you doing, man? How's things? Live 5080 unboxing. Sadly not. Let's face it, I'm not the sort of person who's going to be getting a 50A. I barely got Intel chips. So yeah. It tends to get very toasty in here when I'm doing this whole streaming business. Well, I tend to get very toasty when I'm streaming, so or recording. It's weird. Makes it really difficult to film in summer though, because by the time I'm done filming, I'm just drenched in sweat. I'm trying not to look like it on camera. Yeah. Next Thursday there will be an video along with the stream. I'm guessing I need to double check, but it's probably Thursday at 4 p.m. UK time. Check the press portal. HGST is the Hitachi brand, Hitachi Global Storage Technologies, but was bought out by WD, who dragged their reputation into the dumpster. Shame, really. I have a bunch of their pre-WD drives that are great. 8 p.m. Pacific. 8 a.m. Yeah, 4 p.m. That one. Yeah, I mean, a lot of brands seem to do that. It's great. But yeah. On a random note, it's week 3 with the jogger, and I'm very, very impressed with it. Exceeds my expectations completely, and I now don't fall out of it anymore when getting out. Nice. I mean, I'm glad you're liking it. How's the hybrid power? Hello, John. Can you reiterate how shy if you've already covered it? Quite, I think is the answer. I was in hospital for 5 hours yesterday, just waiting to see a doctor for my eye that had decomposed again. Back's bad, brain's bad. Oh, I've missed a bit. Let me find. There we go. So I think I mentioned, but I'm not well, and I have to take that one of my problems is ulcerative colitis. That's where my colon, your large intestine, my immune system attacks my colon to the point where I have blood and diarrhea permanently. So I have to take some medications to try and settle that down. One of them is 2 sachets of granules in the morning that feels like I'm taking a silica gel packet every morning. And then the other is something to tame my immune system, to compromise my immune system, if you will, making me acutely vulnerable to things like COVID or just flu or cold. I had COVID jab Monday and a flu jab 2 weeks ago, so I should be good a week ago. Anyway, point is that I have to take immunosuppressants like this. Mercaptopurine, which, if you don't know, is chemotherapy. Now, chemotherapy is actually, like, colloquially, it's the cocktail of drugs you take to fight cancer, and is often known for the hair loss is the obvious one. This is part of chemotherapy. So this weakens your immune system so that your immune system doesn't attack the like drugs that they give you to actually fight the cancer, right? So I'm just taking this for the weakening immune system effects, not the fighting cancer effects. Although what's really funny is that taking this long term apparently raises your chance of getting skin cancer quite considerably because it affects your immune system response to your skin being sunburned. So yeah, I need to wear sun cream like basically 24/7 whenever I'm outside for as long as I'm on this, which if the doctors get their way is the rest of my life. Um, uh, so yeah, I'm on chemo, at least part of it. Oh dear. Lucky you're in Britain. I mean, yes, 100%. I wouldn't be alive. Just we'll stop. Um, yeah, can't use some custom loop piping to fix the colon. It's inflamed because it's being attacked by my immune system, not because it's too warm. So no. um. Oh dear. I average around 78 miles per gallon around town. Jesus, that's great. Um. Uh. I've done 480 miles and only put 30 pounds of fuel in it so far and got half a tank left. Jesus Christ. Nice. That's great. Um, medication often does a decent job of fixing or hiding a problem, but usually brings other problems to the surface. Well, yeah, I mean, so the problem for me is that both azathioprine and mercaptopurine um, give me nausea and like vomiting as side effects. I'm tapering onto this, so I'm meant to be taking 3 pills a day. I'm currently taking one. I already feel sick. Um, so there's a very good chance that I'm not going to be able to continue with this, like taking that. The next one is called biologics, which is yeah, it's even scarier. And it's an injection every 2 weeks. So, woo. Thank God for Elgato mics and instant muting. Um, just rub some essential oil of a dolphin snot on your nipples twice a day. Oh God. So you simply can't go outdoors. Wow, such a shame. Well, I am Scottish, so that was already a problem. um, and okay, replace the colon. Just spitballing here. Well, actually, one of the possible treatments is I have surgery to remove my colon. Um, that is like if I have if I cannot get a treatment that keeps it at bay, that is one of the actually relatively likely steps. So, um, bit of a stupid question, maybe. Does the CPU have any impact on the quality of video encoding? Not QuickSync or NVENC with Handbrake. So I think the short answer is no. The long answer is the quality of the encoding is entirely down to the settings and what encoder you use. So the X264 encoder, which is generally what you'll use if you're encoding on the CPU, takes in a lot of different variables, like an unbelievable amount. Um, with something like Handbrake, that does help simplify things, but the biggest quality difference that you will see is in changing the video's bitrate or the video's quality factor. Let me open Handbrake and I can remind myself of the settings. Oh, I need to open a video first. Hold on, let me pick any random video. So under the video tab, yeah, so there's either a constant quality, which Handbrake seems to default to 22 RF, although when I re-render videos, I tend to slide that quite far to the left and do 2 or 3. As an example, actually rendered a video with Handbrake today. I can't remember what exact quality setting, but interesting, that was only 18 megabits per second. So I tend to render all of my footage at 30 megabits per second. That's 4K 30 FPS at 30 megabits per second. That tends to work pretty well for me. I don't tend to have a lot of fast motion or movement though, which basically the more movement you have, the harder it is to compress it. So like this frame, for example, really easy to compress. This is running at 6 megabits per second at 1080p as well. And so the fact that like only these colors are moving, you know, my hand, bit of my face maybe, that's the only thing that's moving in the frame. Everything else can be duplicated from previous frames. Whereas if you're moving around really fast, you then start getting artifacts. So like action cam footage tends to want higher bit rates versus you know, like my stuff on a tripod, you can get away with a lot lower bit rate and slow movement as well. But yeah, the biggest thing for quality is that you do have encoder options actually. What CPU you have doesn't matter. The only effect that the CPU will have is how fast it will do it. Depending on your various encoder options. But yeah. Yeah. Jeffrey, I don't think YouTube monetization would let me repeat the joke, but nice. Streaming video sites really suck at rain because they try and cheat for less bandwidth. Yes. Also things like confetti, snow, anything with like lots of little particles that move across the screen is bad. Or bad for video compression and compression artifacts. Do you think a 4070 Super would be good enough for 1440p ultra-wide gaming for a few years? Well, considering I use a 3060 non-Ti for 1440p ultra-wide gaming, I think the answer is yes. Ish, I was more thinking of the Tom Scott video that talks specifically about YouTube encoding and bit rates and things. I don't necessarily see confetti a lot in my content choices. Isn't Intel's native CPU stuff better for encoding? So that would be QuickSync. That uses the GPU and media engine in the same way that using NVENC or I can't remember what AMD. Does AMD even have a like code name for their GPU encoder? I don't think so. The NVENC encoder on your NVIDIA graphics card, for example, would do that. Wish I could read. I'm insanely impressed with it. Not done a motorway journey yet, though I imagine will sip the juice quite quickly. I mean, quite possibly. But yeah, I'll be interested to see what you think on the motorway as well, because I'm pretty sure that is the same 1.6 Renault engine, like E-Tech Renault engine, as I did the launch event for in 2020. And I was remarkably impressed with the efficiency for sure. And it was fine for... I didn't do like long journeys, like it was a test route. Didn't have a chance to do like long driving on it, but yeah. They were all right. I think the main thing with just all new cars now is the whole like the steering is ridiculously light. It's completely disconnected from the road. Like it feels more like your steering inputs are a suggestion to the wheels rather than you're in control of the death machine vehicle. So yeah. Doesn't Adobe leverage Intel native encoding, etc. better? On laptops, yes. On desktops, no. Because I have an Intel CPU in my desktop with an iGPU actually, and you have the choice of either CUDA and NVENC or QuickSync, and obviously CUDA is faster because I have 2,000 cores in my GPU, or however many a 3060 has. So yeah. YouTube is notoriously bad for bitrate anyway. That's true. It'll take ages to upload your 4K video with high bitrate, but the best we can return is the third. Yeah. Like Porsche went drive-by-wire. What? Do you mean steer-by-wire? Because I'm pretty sure that Porsche still basically all cars are drive-by-wire, but very few cars are steer-by-wire. I know Lexus has a couple, and I know Tesla Cybertruck is. I don't think that Porsche has any wholly steer-by-wire cars. They definitely have electric power assist, which, to be honest, as someone who works on their own car, I really like electric power assist steering. I would actually like it for a few different reasons. Like, so my Audi S4 has electric power assist, as does my wife's Audi A3, and yeah, it is. It is very nice for a few different reasons. Obviously, the fact that it's no maintenance, that's nice, and then also the sort of dynamic programming. So when you're at ridiculously slow speeds, when you're just like maneuvering around a car park, it can make itself ridiculously light. But when you're driving at speed, it can basically turn all assistance off so that you get a much more connected driving feel, and you get not just a ridiculously light wheel. I thought I heard Hammond talk about the loss of mechanical steering. So they definitely moved from hydraulic to electric power steering, and a lot of car reviewers really don't like electric power steering, at least on performance cars anyway. I am definitely not skilled or knowledgeable enough to really know or comment. But I do know that a lot of it is such a big point to people that they even McLaren for the new W1, their new hyper, like top end hypercar, $2 million hypercar, uses hydraulic power steering instead of electric. Even though electric makes way more sense, is way easier to package, is way more, like long-term reliable. But apparently they believe that the feel of hydraulic power steering is just that much better than electric that they opt for that instead. Yeah. Why not fly-by-wire? Well, technically Airbus does that. Airbus has joysticks for controlling their planes. There are several layers of redundancy in backup systems, but yeah, they use joysticks. Whereas Boeing still has yokes. And look how that's going for them. Oh dear. Ever since putting coilovers, it now handles way better, but normal driving is painful. Feel every bit of your body aching. Nice. Are they adjustable? Did you have electronic damper control? Because I don't. Nice one, Ish. Yokes on Boeing with their track record. Oh dear. I was dubious of the efficiency of it beforehand. Heard good and bad, but easily the most efficient engine I've had. I've always been brought up being told that diesel is far superior. Well, it is, but especially in passenger vehicles, uh, there are a lot of limitations that diesel has, especially in being a hybridized system, and also especially from Renault's perspective, they wanted to design literally one engine for all of their cars, so they designed a 1.6 liter petrol, naturally aspirated as well, um, with the hybrid system built into both the gearbox and into the uh, engine, uh, and yeah, they get to ship that in literally every car they make now. Yeah, YouTube thinks I need a new McLaren W1 or Bentley or Rolex. Yeah. I think all the stop-start town driving I didn't do the diesel engines a favor either. No, they didn't. Um, yeah. How do you feel overall about cars going electric assisted compared to the feeling the road through the wheel and tires? It's also boosted. Well, that's what I said. When I did the Renault E-Tech launch in 2020, and I drove the Megane, the Clio, and the Captur. The Captur was by far the worst car I've driven, just because it is one of those pissy little SUVs that isn't really an SUV. It's just a tall standard hatchback, with heinously disconnected steering and feel like you cannot feel the road at all, to the point where if you take a corner, you have no idea if you're going to make it round the corner unless you're driving it like a granny. Which, like, fair enough, it's not exactly a race car, but at the same time, it it felt like a safety concern. um, so yeah, that was fun. But yeah, I I don't like it. Basically every new car that I've driven has some element of that. Even some of the more performance ones have that feeling. The fact that, like, the reason why I say the Porsche 911 Carrera T that I drove at the last SMMT day is my favorite car that I have ever driven is because it strikes the perfect balance between being just enough horsepower. It's 385 horsepower from a twin turbo Boxer flat six at the back, and like right at the back because Porsche rear wheel drive, and a beautiful balance of handling, of like feel through the steering wheel, feel through your butt cheeks, you know, enough feel to make you know that the road is there, but you could still, cruise in it. You could still take it on a longer journey and not be worn out by it. That's kind of why I like my S4 so much. It is a nice, fairly refined driving experience, but if you want to hoon it around, you absolutely can, and you can get good feel through the wheel. You can get good feel through your butt. And so yeah, I very much like. I'm very much a petrol head in that regard. I like to be connected to the car and to feel like the car is an extension of me rather than an econo box that just takes me from A to B. Um, ba, 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 ba. I do indeed, Jeffrey. Um, Anyone use Tailscale for the VPN? I'm on Mulvad. As I pay for, but as I pay for Proton, was thinking switching to Tailscale. Everything going out via single Proton link back home. Tailscale is for connecting your home to your home network, not like Mulvad. So Tailscale is basically a replacement or another option for WireGuard. So I have a WireGuard VPN. In fact, I use it quite a lot. But if you're ever away from home, for example, I have my WireGuard VPN on my phone, so I route all of my traffic through my home network. So I get the benefit of essentially being on my home network, which essentially means I get high-hole ad blocking on my phone wherever I am. Just beautiful. But also I use it when I am away. I can connect to my network. I can access my NASs. I can upload footage. I can work on the response time tools remotely. All that sort of stuff. And so Tailscale is essentially a sort of a potentially easier way to do that. I can't remember if Tailscale, like what the monetization structure for that is. There might be some amount of like paid, or it might become paid in the future. I don't know. But point is, it's basically it's a replacement for WireGuard rather than a replacement for something like private internet access, for example. There's very much two different types of VPN. There is connecting multiple networks together that you control or you want access to, especially remotely, and then there is the paid VPN services that give you a different public IP address. Hey, I recently bought a Dell 2421 HGF monitor, and the image is all grainy. I bought 3 models and all the same, and the problem persists on all 3 of them. Interesting. Is I'm trying to remember Dell's naming schemes. So that's a 24-inch, I assume 1080p. I assume high refresh rate. So off the bat, not sure. Off the top of my head, I would say, have you tried playing with the image settings? Have you tried a different cable, or perhaps even attachment method? So if you're using HDMI, try display ports, maybe even vice versa. Does your what you call it graphics card support I can't remember, what refresh rate? Oh, okay, so it's 1080p 141st, so that's not really a concern then. What I was going with what I was going with is a lot of monitors, if they're higher refresh rates and high resolution, then what you often get is you need display stream compression to be able to run it correctly, otherwise it might freak out. And older graphics cards, like GTX 10 series and older, don't support that, for example. But yeah, it shouldn't look grainy. The 1080p at 24 inches really isn't bad. I actually have a 1080p 24-inch TN monitor sitting vertically next to me over here. So yeah. You can also check your graphics driver settings to see if there's anything changed in there. Try a fresh install, perhaps. Also double check that HDR mode isn't being enabled, especially in Windows. And yeah, I mean, if you've tried 3 different, units and they're all the same, then that would imply there is perhaps some settings or something that is not working. Maybe also adaptive sync. I don't know if adaptive sync or FreeSync or G-Sync, depending on what graphics card you have, is enabled. Maybe try disabling it to see if that helps. Yeah. You know what doesn't have any ride or steer by wire? My MT-07. A lot of bikes have throttle by wire still. I don't know if the M207 does. That there's a very good chance that it is still cables, but yeah. I've tried everything, all the options. The problem appears more 140 hertz unless it's 60, as well as certain contrast ratios. The problem gets worse. That's not something I've come across before personally, so my ability to help you is unfortunately going to be limited. Um, but yeah, maybe adaptive sync. Yeah. Nope, not mine. One of the reasons I got instead of a Honda cables for the win. Fair enough. I mean, to be fair, my SV650S when I had it was also cables. And if I'm going to get another bike, at least currently anyway, it's probably going to be a Tenere 700. Um, yeah. I'm not going to even try and pronounce your name. J-Man. um, I would have a look to see adaptive sync and I'd see if your graphics drivers have any settings. Although, if it's appearing more 140 hertz unless it's 60, things like adaptive sync that does sort of spring to mind as a potential problem. And also maybe your graphics card. It depends if you've tried any other monitors other than that specific model. There might just be a bit of an incompatibility with your system and that monitor. Sometimes can happen. But yeah. I love computers, etc., but some things should be analog, like the bloody rev dial and the speedo. I like a digital speedo because I like to know exactly how much. The rev gauge, I agree. The rev counter. Got any spooky and scary game recommendations for the Halloween season? I have not played many games recently. The only thing I've been playing is Satisfactory, and that's not very spooky. So, honestly, no. I genuinely think my wife would be able to answer that question better, but she's currently coming home from an amusement park, so I can't ask. If you game Scourgebringer is a cheap banger, less than 10 snaps, pixel art twitchy stuff, worth a play. There you go. Just buy a new game at full price. Scary stuff. I mean, it is actually. Ow. Yeah. Ow. Did I miss anything? Actually, now you mention it, the steering and jogger feels a little odd at times. When I turn, it wants to turn, but sometimes it feels a little artificial. Bit strange. Yeah, that'll be the the weirdly tuned electric power steering of the Renault group. I'm gonna sit this far away. I really need like a larger font size on chat. Jesus Christ. I had an MRI scan the other day actually. I get my results in 12 weeks. Uh, favorite super slash hypercar? Well, the thing is, I I don't really want any of the super or hypercars. I would absolutely love to drive a McLaren F1 or a GMA T50 or even the C33 to be honest. Um, so one of those three, I think. Uh, Gordon Murray's creations, basically. Um, I yeah, I think those are my options because especially the GM 50 with the Cosworth V12, the fact that it's a manual, the fact that it's a fan car, the fact that it looks kind of bug-eyed but kind of cool at the same time. When it was announced, it did give me the right fizz. So probably that. I would love to drive that or a McLaren F1. Um, so yeah, I'd be happy to have an alright. Well, I've actually driven an alright V10 Spider, and I was pretty good fun. Although I definitely enjoyed the Porsche better. For me, McLaren F1 or an F40 or an LFA. There. I mean, I would like to drive an F40 for the occasion of it. Um, but yeah, I've never like I had a Ferrari Enzo poster on my wall as a kid. And I do like the styling of the Enzo. I think it needs a wing, but yeah. Uh, but yeah, it's definitely of its time in its performance. Hello, Tammy. The F14, the Countach on the wall. Nice. Well, I should say I had the F70. Was it F60? F60. Because it's the F40, the F50, the Enzo is the F60, the LaFerrari is the F70, and then the new F80 was announced literally today. And I don't really like that. They did a redone Countach, yeah. Jim, here's a little known but obvious fact that made me feel really stupid. Percentages are reversible. For instance, 8% of 25 is the same percent of 25% of 8. The latter is so much easier to calculate. It is. And I also know that somewhere in my head, and yeah, it also does make you feel stupid every time you forget it. Tammy, I haven't actually seen the WordPress engine drama. I saw a like a thumbnail about it, but I've been otherwise occupied. I'm afraid. So if you can summarize it quickly, that'd be great. But I am due to be departing soon. And see you, Sam. Um, and see you, Jim. See you next week. Um, WordPress is my kryptonite currently. Nice. Um, Jay, unfortunately, you can't. YouTube will block you. I don't even have a choice in that one. Feel free to join a Discord and post it there, though. Links in the description of the stream. Um, what are you, Joe? What is it you want the website to do? Because I do technically run two WordPress websites. And I can tell you the WordPress sucks. I mean, it's yes. Was the WordPress more trademark icon copyright issue? Um, I don't know. Hmm. Where's the news tab? Um. Oh, WordPress, the company, bans WordPress, the engine, from sponsoring or participating in user groups. Um. Right. Okay. Yeah. It sounds like it. Right. Got it. Well, I hate all that sort of crap. I hate uh greed. Um, so yeah. Uh, Joe, you can use Namecheap service, Easy WP. It's not ridiculously fast, it's not ridiculously cheap, but it is ridiculously easy. Um, yeah. The Fireship video is probably the one that I saw the thumbnail of actually. So yeah. I'll give it a watch and be better informed about it. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it there. Thank you very much for hanging. Um, as always, uh, if you there'll be a video tomorrow, video Monday, and then there'll actually be a video on Thursday before the stream at 4 p.m. So please do check that one out. Because it's gonna get buried under all the other ones, and that's always a fun experience when you work for like 3 weeks straight to make one video, and then it just gets buried under the competition of much more popular channels. Anyway, have fun. See you next week. Yeah.